Hey guys, we need to talk. A new chess drama is in full swing. Christopher Eugene Yu, a young player, grandmaster from the US, has been expelled from the tournament, the US Chess Championship, because of his nervous breakdown at the end of the game versus Fabiano Caruana. You can see part of this breakdown on the screen where he tears the score sheet. But we do not have the video of what followed. But reports say, and the chief arbiter, Chris Bird, says that he attacked a videographer at the event, hit him, probably the guy could not cope with his emotions because he had a close to winning position against Fabi and managed to lose it. And I will tell you about a similar experience that I had today in my game. Let's a little bit discuss what you have to do to not get into such situation. Of course, everybody is different. Mental states are different for many people. Some people have some non-typical conditions, so to say. Some are more easy to get angry, others are more balanced, but anyone can use some tips that my coach and my psychotherapist recommended me, and also some of the top players who came on my podcast. So one of the top recommendations, by the way, of the top chess players, for example, Arjun Regaisi, who's been the guest of my podcast, is meditation. And I'm sure that Christopher Eugene Yu would have benefited from it. There is the question of how you approach defeat, because defeat is inevitable. Like Michael Jordan, I think, said that you have to miss 10,000 throws in basketball to get great, something like that. So in chess, you have to lose maybe 10,000 games to get great. I don't know how many games you have to lose, but definitely a lot. And I draw inspiration from Vladislav Artemiev here, who has been reported. He's a very strong grandmaster from Russia. He is not very active in classical chess, but he's like, I think, top 5 in Blitz ratings over the board. He doesn't play too much online. He has small kids and he says he likes spending time with them, so he doesn't play from home online. But when World Blitz happens, he's always the contender for top prizes. And he's been the winner of, on the pedestal, he's been several times, I think. So he's very strong, 2700 player. 2 times in a row he became the champion of Russia in classical. And I was told by one of his opponents, who managed to defeat him once, and Vladislav, after this game, said very calmly, very, very reservedly, said, thank you for this lesson. And this is very instructive, I think, to think of your misfortunes over the board as important lessons. Because every time you lose, you do something wrong, and therefore there is an opportunity to learn how not to do this next time. And Artemiev is an extremely capable, talented player, close to super grandmaster level. And even he loses, but he definitely is a super GM in terms of how to approach the losses. Also, some advice from my coach, Farukh Manatov, grandmaster. He says that after a painful loss, you should just take a walk, forget about it, not concentrate on these ruminations, thoughts about it. Try to watch a movie, spend time with your girlfriend, stuff like that. So, because it happens, and you have to be a chess player, especially a professional chess player, especially a grandmaster like Christopher. You have to be able to cope with losses, because everyone loses, even Magnus. So today I experienced a similar thing. I did not rage because I think in my childhood, when I started playing competitively, I sometimes cried after a painful loss, something like that. But now I think I've learned to cope better with this. Still, it hurts, of course, when you lose, especially when you lose a game like today's game that I had So let me show it. It's brief, so it's very instructive. You will enjoy it. It's been, by the way, it's round 3 of the tournament here in Almaty. I'm the rating favorite, and I'm playing against a young player from Kazakhstan, Darren, and he's playing with the white pieces. And it's the first time today that I've played the Sicilian defense ever in my life. So congratulations to me. I've finally decided to broaden my repertoire. I've always been playing the French defense, but I decided to try something new. He goes for c3, the Alpine setup, and I go e6, and I really wanted to play the Sicilian, but he goes for something like the exchange French. So this position could have arisen out of the French. So for example, e4, e6, d4, d5, takes, knight f3, and c5, c3, knight f6. This is the position out of the exchange French, and now this is the position that we got in the game. Same position. So no Sicilian this time, or at least this is like a hybrid of a Sicilian and the French. Here he checks me, I block, and he checks me with a queen, and I realized that yes, of course I can block with a queen, but I didn't like knight e5. I thought this is unpleasant. Putting more pressure here, and if I take, he'll take with check, and b7 is weak, and yeah, white is better. So here c4 is a move. I didn't see it, and it's around equal, but white is pressing. Still, I think bishop e7 is better, and the computer agrees, actually. I didn't know the theory here in this variation, so I played it by the ear, so to say. He takes the pawn, and I cannot take it, because it's a pin. But I thought that I should have a decent counterplay and compensation, because he is underdeveloped. I can castles, and then go rook e8, put pressure, and I think at the cost of a pawn, I'm already like controlling the game. And yes, it's true, the engine agrees. So he tries to overprotect the pawn and block this e-file, but I still go rook e8, and there is an annoying x-ray here, so now I'm threatening bishop e5, because he will not be able to take. The queen will be hanging, so he takes first, because the queen is also overloaded. It has to stay guarding here, it has to stay guarding here, so he takes the bishop first and goes b4. He is desperately trying to hold on to this pawn. And currently I cannot win the pawn, but I can use an important chess principle, PP on the PP. Put pressure on the pinned piece. Knight g4. This is a pinned piece, because this is the x-ray, and I put pressure on the pinned piece. The idea is that, well, I want to take. I want to, if he takes with a queen, for example, takes, I will have some pin on the queen and win, pin to win, another principle. So this is an idea. Of course, he castles to avoid the pins, but now I can safely also take. And if he takes with a queen, I can even take here, win back the pawn, because the queen is hit and the bishop is protected. So yeah, this is the idea, but he will probably take with a pawn, and he will have still an extra pawn, but this is a weak pawn, this is a weak pawn. He's underdeveloped, and I thought that I'll have a great position, bishop f6, for example, here. The computer already prefers black. But I thought I'm not in a rush to take, because it's not that he is able to go bishop f4 next. Then I'll take on e5 and on c5 and hit the queen. So I thought I'm not in a rush. I'll go bishop f6 first. Still there is pressure over here. So he goes queen d3 here, and already I'm much better. If I just take, he has to take like this, and a5. I thought of this plan, actually, because this is a very strong bishop, and I'm threatening to take on b4, and he will not be able to take back, because the rook will be hanging. And if he goes a3, I'll still take, and he cannot take by this pawn, because the rook will be hanging. So white will have to give up some of the pawns on the queen side, maybe take here, but this is very ugly. I'll take with the knight, then I'll take this pawn, and I'll be a pawn up already. Or maybe not a pawn up, but maybe once I win this, I will even be a pawn up. And still there are problems for development for white. So that would have been great. Knight takes e3 and e5. But I thought there is another good move, and actually this is the second best move according to the engine. Knight d to e5, adding more pieces into attack. Now I'm attacking the queen and putting pressure on the knight. He has to take, and now I take with my bishop, and now his h2 pawn is hit, and I was really enjoying my position here. I'm not in a rush to take his bishop. I will be able to take it next because at the time this pawn is hanging, he has to do something with it, and then I'll be able to take the bishop. That was my plan. Or maybe not even take, maybe I'll be able to go queen here and somehow add the queen to the attack. I was enjoying myself. Like, yeah, I'm down a pawn, but I'm attacking. And I thought the best move here is g3, and actually the engine agrees. And I thought that I'll just probably take here, and then, yeah, I thought of going even d4 here. Yeah, one of the best moves according to the engine, because if he takes, I'll take with bishop, and the rook will be lost. So he'll have to go here, and then I'll put more pressure. But this is not the only way to proceed. d4 is not forced. a5 is even better here. So g3 I thought is a logical move, because I thought h3 maybe also comes to mind, but then I take, and he is not able to take with the queen because bishop h2 is a check and I win the queen. So he has to take not with the queen but with the pawn, and now his dark squares around the king are extremely weakened. He would have preferred to have the pawn back on h2, because now I have this dark squared bishop that is a monster. I'll be able to, in some variations, put my queen on g3, for example, and attack him, and maybe not mate, but inflict huge damage. Here a5 is also very strong. -1 already the assessment of the position according to the engine, even though I'm still down a pawn. So yeah, h3 I thought is not too good. g3 is a little bit better because I have a dark squared bishop and g3 controls some dark squares, but still I thought I'm better. And then my opponent started hovering his hand above the f-pawn. And I thought, is he going to go f4? Because f3 is nonsensical. If f3, then I can just take on e3, queen e3, bishop h2 check, king takes h2, rook takes e3, winning the queen. So f3 is bad. It's just losing. So f4 is the only logical move if he wants to push the f-pawn. And I thought, f4 looks strange. I can just take on e3 first of all, and then drop back, and he has weakened this diagonal also in front of the king. And then I thought, there is an even better opportunity here. I can win in a forced way. I calculated queen h4, attacking the h2 pawn. The only move he can do, okay, so let me draw the squares once again, draw the arrows once again. So the only move to protect h2 is h3. And then I found a brilliant, as I thought, sacrifice, queen g3. Now this battery of the queen and the bishop are very annoying, but yeah, but there's a pawn on f4, so not the battery of the queen and the bishop, but instead there's a battery, not a battery, but like joint forces of the knight and the queen. So f4, queen h4, h3, queen g3, and now queen h2 is a mate, checkmate threatened, because the knight and the queen are controlling the square. So after queen g3, he has to take the knight, and then I saw bishop f4. Brilliant tactics, because he cannot take, I'll take the queen. You see it? So let me show it. f4, queen here, I take an h2, he has to go h3, and I saw queen g3. You see by the evil bar that this is this is a very bad move. So the idea is queen h2 mate, he has to take this knight, and then I saw bishop takes f4, and I thought, wow, brilliant. He cannot take with the bishop because the queen is hanging, so he has to take with a rook, and then rook e3 attacks the queen, and if the queen drops back, not only can I take the rook, but I can also mate him with rook e1. And I thought, if queen d3 here, a rook d3, and I'm threatening both the queen and some checkmates, and the rook is hanging, and the best he can do is probably a rook here, but I can just take the rook. So I calculated all this while he was thinking and hovering his hand over the f-pawn. f4, queen h4, h3, queen g3, takes, bishop takes, rook takes, hitting the queen, threatening rook e1, threatening the rook. You might have noticed that I was wrong in my calculations for one tiniest reason. I completely forgot about one square. Everything I said was correct. Almost. f4, queen h4, only move h3, queen g3. He has to go takes. I take. He has to take by the rook. I take. And now I completely forgot about one tiny square. f5. Queen f5. And white is winning. Because the rook is protected. If I go here, check, he just blocks. I have nothing. This was like cold shower. Once I saw it when he confidently took on f4. Then was the moment I saw it. I had nothing better than take, queen f5. And here I started thinking maybe I still have some dangerous attack, but I don't. Unfortunately, after check, he blocks. The best I can do, according to the engine, is to trade here. Because if he takes by the queen, there are some perpetual checks, and it's a draw. So he has to take with the king, and then I have some queen h2, and at least I can like infiltrate. I'm down a full knight, but maybe I can initiate some counterplay with f5. But of course, this is completely losing for me. And I decided not to trade the rooks here, not to take. Instead, I went rook here, putting more pressure. If only I had one more move to take and then put another rook here, then I'd be back in the game. But unfortunately, I don't have this move. He takes with check, I drop back. He cannot do this to checkmate me because he cannot take by the rook because the rook is pinned. So this idea does not work here. So I'm not mated, but still I'm not mating him either, and he's still up a full knight. He goes knight d2, adding another rook to the attack. And unfortunately, I have nothing. I check him. He goes here. I was hoping that he at least goes here, and we get something like this, and at least I win back a piece, even though this is still a losing endgame. I was hoping for this, but of course he doesn't block. He doesn't have to block. He just goes king h2, and my checks will run out very soon. If I go here, check, he'll go king h1, and there are no more checks. So I have to go queen h6, and I was calculating some lines like here, check, knight here, g5. I'm threatening queen h4, checkmate. The king is practically in the mating net, but unfortunately there is rook h1, and at the end of the line, I will be checkmated, queen f8. I thought this is how the game could have ended, but he did not even go for this complications. After my check on h6, he just blocked with queen h5. And unfortunately, I can't even take this, because he will take... If he takes like this, I'm back in the game. We exchange, and there are no back rank problems because I'm protecting everything. But unfortunately, if I take the knight, he can take by this rook. And if I take back, he has rook f8, checkmate. So I cannot take back, I'm down a rook. So I cannot take this knight, and here I decide, okay, I'll try something, at least taking two rooks for the queen. The queen is hanging, but my rook is hanging. He has to drop back the queen. I take the queen, and I try to pin the knight. Maybe if I have a couple more moves, I can go here and put even more pressure, even though this doesn't work, because he will always have checks with the queen. But he finds queen f7, a great move. I take in my rook. Now if I go here, this will be a check and a fork. So I have to defend the rook, to protect it. He takes another pawn. I try to go for some counterplay. Try to maybe double up here, but it's not working. I'm like making moves on autopilot, waiting for resignation, probably h4, trying desperately to open some lines, maybe to push even further, but he just takes calmly, and after rook g4, he just goes g3. I cannot take because this will be a check, and my rook will be lost. So basically I could have resigned here, but I made a couple more moves. And here he checked me. I went here and queen h5, and I resigned because if I go here, which is the only move, this wins my rook, and there's no point of playing on. So it's very painful, very painful loss, but Still, I'm thankful for this experience, and I think it's an important learning experience for me, because this is a recurrent pattern. I very often get too carried away with the tactic that I find, and do not spend enough time double checking. I didn't spend enough time double checking. I was like a couple of minutes. I did spend a couple of minutes double checking in this position before going queen h4 and queen g3. But I should have spent like at least 5 minutes. There is no rush. I had like a half an hour on my clock, and I was sure that this is like the killer blow. So even if I had like 5 minutes on the clock, I could have spent it all to make sure I'm not blundering anything. I was too impatient. This is a problem that I have in life as well. So I have to work on myself to get better in life and in chess. And this was the learning of today. I hope I can come back in the next rounds and still fight for first, or at least for the pedestal. See you in the next one. Bye bye.